Hi, welcome to Horizon Europe to go. 10 minutes or a little bit more on a focused topic on Horizon Europe. Today, I'm here with my colleague Matthew, and we will talk about the new European Bauhaus initiative. Thank you, Matthew, for being here today.
It's a pleasure.
Before going into the big details, can you give us an overview of what the new European Bauhaus, which we might refer today with NEB to make it shorter, is about and what it entails?
Yeah. So the new European Bauhaus was an initiative that started more or less in 2020, actually precisely in September 2020, when Ursula von der Leyen did the State of the Union address and basically decided that the Green Deal, which at that time was the big thing, needed also a social and cultural perspective to it. So we don't only need to have an environmental target, we also need to couple that with a social and cultural perspective. Now, the new European Bauhaus, as the word says, is quite focused on the building environment, pretty much focusing on the neighborhood dimension rather than the city dimension. So it's basically about how can citizens live in a place where they feel at home, where they are socially connected, where they're integrated, and where they lead a sustainable, environmentally sustainable life, basically.
Okay, so then is this really something new? Probably not, right?
Well, let's say that these themes of social cohesion and environmental sustainability and culture and creativity have always been there in Horizon Europe. But the new thing about the new European Bauhaus is that it integrates all these aspects at a neighborhood level rather than the city level. So the neighborhood is really seen as the dimension where most people live. You know, people don't live in a huge big city, they live in a neighborhood. And so basically, it fosters collaboration between many different kind of actors. These are social society actors, culture and creativity actors, architects, urban designers, material researchers, for new construction materials, all working together towards trying to achieve these ideal neighborhoods, basically.
Thank you. So it's a lot about beauty, inclusion, participation, design. These might sometimes be confused with luxuries in a way. So we are now in a geopolitical moment and times that looks toward other main problems, such as borders, economic competition, problems about competitiveness. So is this new European Bauhaus really a priority today?
Well, I can say yes. Actually, we had word from Ursula von der Leyen just recently from last week. Last week, Brussels hosted the new European Bauhaus Festival, which is a big event that basically showcases all the achievements of this Bauhaus every 2 years. And President von der Leyen opened the event and actually stated exactly these points. These are very difficult times. There's lots of different challenges, but the Bauhaus is more relevant than ever. So if you think about what Bauhaus is trying to achieve, you are trying to solve those social conflicts in neighborhoods. So that's really promoting democracy. It's about promoting the environment, trying to build neighborhoods that are resilient, both from a climate change perspective, but also from a societal perspective. So all these aspects definitely help sustain the European way of life principles, which is very important, and also tackling directly some of the big issues of the moment, which are like, for example, threats to democracy and climate change.
So who should be paying attention to these opportunities? Is there someone that is listening today that could be interested?
Many people, I think, because of the nature of the Bauhaus, it's very, very cross-thematic. Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, it is not only about building. It brings together really lots of different actors. You need to get input from the citizens. So you need actors that are able to collect that input, to motivate citizens to participate, to give their opinion. Then you need, of course, architects and space designers. You need also technology. You need companies that come up with new ideas, maybe new materials which are more sustainable, circular. You need also actors from this creative and cultural circle, maybe to enable and to also bring up maybe what are the different aspects of different neighborhoods. Each neighborhood has its own character, its own culture. You want to bring that up in order to make it more identifiable for the people who live there. And of course, not to forget municipalities. I mean, these are the key actors actually at the end. So really, there's a lot of interest for many different research and innovation actors from Horizon Europe. It brings them all together in these very exciting projects. And what I should mention here also is that now today we're talking about the Horizon Europe part of Bauhaus, which is where you have an element of innovation. But the Bauhaus goes much beyond that. So there are also many other initiatives beyond Horizon Europe, which are under the label of European Bauhaus, which make use of other funds, for example, the regional development funds, stuff that maybe Switzerland doesn't have access to completely. But really, there's a lot of really potential funding streams and activities to be involved in.
Okay. So I would say from our side, as you research, we will support you with pleasure on the part that concerns Horizon Europe.
Yes.
And for all the rest, of course, we can always help you to find your way around, but we will not be the main supporters there.
Exactly.
You tackled already the point on cities and municipalities. Do you want to add something else?
Yeah, so these are really, really key players in the new European Bauhaus, because at the end, this is where the Bauhaus happens. This is where citizens live, and this is where the value of a solution is actually finally proven. But the key aspect here is that we shouldn't only see municipalities as kind of pilot cases or the final users of a solution, which is defined without them. Municipalities are very often a core part of the consortium. They are involved from the beginning. They contribute in getting the citizens involved in designing the solutions and so on. So very often in new European Bauhaus projects, you will see that municipalities are very active in the consortium. Many of them, often you find more than one municipality present there. And quite often they are even coordinating projects, actually. Historically, they're also quite difficult kind of entities to connect with for us because they are not traditionally attached to the research and innovation aspect. So that's maybe a challenge for us, but we accept, of course, the challenge to get them involved.
So if any municipality or city is listening today, please contact Matthew as soon as possible to see how you could participate in this type of initiatives. So maybe also can you give us some concrete examples about projects that capture the NEB spirit?
Yeah, I will mention one. There are many actually. There's one called Desire, which was actually one of the NEB flagship projects. And this involved trying to roll out circular solutions at neighborhood level. So how can municipalities recycle, reuse, share things at a local scale? And this was done in participation with 6, I think, municipalities from Northern Europe, from different countries. And yeah, this is a typical example of a NEB project where you get, you get circularity, you get social inclusion, you bring it all together, and you basically roll it out in different municipalities. As I said, there are many, many projects out there. One very good thing about NEB, it has very good information available out there. The New European Bauhaus website, which you can find by simply typing New European Bauhaus, European Commission on Google, is a very good website full of examples. And the Commission is putting a lot of focus on trying to provide examples, because people always find this a little bit fuzzy, what it is, and so on. So examples speak much more than a lot of words. Also, one thing that came up from the NEB Festival last week, there's a new publication done by the Commission called The Blueprint of Affordable Housing, where you have description of 21 affordable housing solutions which have been carried out under the NEB label. And this can be also downloaded from the page of the Bauhaus. Again, examples showing how the different actors can participate. And for sure, let's say the people who are watching today will find themselves how they could plug in into such a project, looking at these examples. And of course, there's Cordis. I mean, the database of the European Commission, where all the Horizon Europe projects are. You can always filter for NEB and find loads and loads of examples.
Perfect. Thank you. Now, let's talk about funding. What the people should look out for.
Yeah, so again, we're now talking about the research and innovation part of NEB, which is the so-called NEB facility. So that for the upcoming, what's left for the remaining 2 years of Horizon Europe is 2 rounds of calls. One is the 2026 one, which is already open and will have a deadline in December. And the next one in 2027, which will open in May, also with deadline in December. Both years are structured in the same way. There's 3 destinations, or let's say thematic areas of new European Bauhaus projects. The first one is very much looking at the social inclusion aspect, at the democracy aspect, so how this can be integrated in projects. The second destination is more about technology. It's about construction materials. It is about reusability of construction elements and so on. And the third one is about business models. So how can we think of new business models that can sustain the NEB beyond the grant phase? So we're talking, for example, of cooperatives in buildings and so on. So for the upcoming calls, 2026 and 2027, there's about 200 millions budget available. About, I think, between 40 and 50 projects will be funded between 2026 and 2027. So that's a considerable amount of opportunities.
Okay. And what about if those listening today are not really fitting into this NEB initiative?
Yeah, so of course, I should say that we always maintain the so-called topic previews on the Euroresearch website, so people can just go and have a look at what these topics are. In case you wouldn't find something which is really matching, as I said, the NEB thematics are quite cross-cluster, so you will find elements of it in many other areas. One particular relevant area is cluster 5, the energy part, particularly the energy use, where we talk about buildings, energy use in buildings. So there's a partnership called Build for People, where you look at the energy use part of construction. So basically how you can make the air in buildings more healthy, how you can reduce energy use and so on. So that's an interesting part. But of course, cluster 2, which is creativity, social part of Horizon Europe funding, that also has a lot of aspects which cover maybe democracy and social inclusion and so on. And also not to forget the EIT, European Institute of Technology, has a couple of NEB calls distributed around. And there is one actually open now in the EIT Culture and Creativity. Okay. It's a call of the Culture and Creativity for NEB projects. So again, if you want to know more, if you wouldn't find a solution in the NEB specific topics, get in touch and we can see if we can find something else in the other parts of Horizon Europe. Yeah.
Thanks. So a lot of opportunities, which might be cross-cutting with the other colleagues of ours. So again, you can contact us and we can always redirect you to, in case, other colleagues that are also relevant for the opportunities that Matthew just described. Maybe looking at the near future, the last call for NEB is in 2027. Is it happening something after that with NEB?
Yeah, that's a quite frequent question. Of course, there is a new framework program coming up. There are new priorities in the world, as we already mentioned. So one of the questions is there going to be any space for such activities? In general, one important point is the president is very much behind this initiative. And one thing we can say for sure, independently whether the new European Bauhaus will continue to call itself like that, whether it will be specifically funded under this label, the elements that make it what it is will continue to exist after. So in the worst case scenario, I could say maybe the facility will not continue in the next framework program, but there will still be funding for building, for social inclusion, for the creative and social actors in the built environment, distributed maybe in the other parts of Horizon Europe Part 2, however that will be called. So,
thanks, Matthew. So before going to the end of this episode, I will quickly have a look if someone watching live has any question. So at the moment doesn't look like, but of course I encourage you to contact us or to put some comments under this post anytime, because we can read you and we can come back to you with the answers or the support that you need. So before closing, if you would have one call to action for the people watching today on NEB, what is that?
Well, that's definitely a good one. And that is the event that EU Research is organizing at the end of June, on the 30th of June. There will be an online event. It's actually on our event list on the webpage. And it's going to be an online partnering and pitching event for the 2026 calls that are open now. So this is a great opportunity to get to know a little bit more in detail, again, what NEB is about, what the calls are going to be about. So we're going to a little bit present the topics in detail. But then it's going to be mainly an opportunity for the registered people to get to know each other through pitches, very short pitches. And also through the registration process, you have to express what are your interest areas. All this information we will then distribute after. And this is a very good, let's say, initial material to try and get those consortia together. By the way, the event is, I would say, mostly focused on the Swiss community, but there are also significant number of participants now from abroad, which makes it even more attractive for Horizon Europe Consortia.
So let's say again the date and the
30th of June, around lunchtime, about 11:30, I think. Just go to our website, you can register, and if you want, you can pitch.
So thanks, Matthew, for these insights on the NEB. This is everything from us today. We are coming back live in 2 weeks on the 29th of June, always at 12:15. With the topic of the Horizontal Activities Work Program 2026-27. So attend again if you're interested in this. Is again a bit like NEB, a very cross-cutting thematic that may interest a lot of you. So thanks for watching and see you soon again. Bye-bye.
Bye, thanks.